control bar, you should see in the upper left, it will switch from semi to burst.
What if it doesn't?
It doesn't?
It doesn't switch, no, it just stays at semi and
You need to check your keybinds. But once you switch to burst, fire one burst, you get an idea of how that works.
That was manually done, Chris. I was trying shift and all.
Just check your keybinds later.
Yeah, I'll do it.
The benefit of burst is it allows you to not really think about it for a pattern, a period of time. You fire one burst, it takes a few seconds to deploy. I think it's 5 sets of flares, and then you can fire another burst. Single is more, there's a little bit more thought involved. When stuff's going crazy, burst is probably a better idea. It lets you focus more time on other things. The intent of the flares, as you all presumably know, is to spoof infrared-guided missiles. They won't do anything against, like, say, the Tunguska. It's not going to care that you're firing flares. But if someone fires a Strela or a Stinger or something, it can spoof those. There are 2 types of ways to deploy flares. There's proactive and there's reactive. Proactive is you're flying to a high-risk area where you expect there's Strelas, Stingers, or something similar on the ground, and you just pop those every so often, as long as you're in that threat area, to deter them from firing at you. That's what you'll most likely use flares for. The other method is reactive. Reactive is very difficult with IR missiles because IR missiles, unlike radar missiles, do not give you any warning they've been fired. The only thing you'll ever see is if you look over and actually see the launch site as a missile's coming off. Then you can start popping flares. If you see any missile launch ever, you might as well put flares out. A lot of times you'll see pilots who are popping flares to avoid RPGs. That's fine. It's a good habit to get into. You don't have time to make that assessment. One indicator that it's an anti-air missile versus an RPG is if it's fired from further away, you see a steady smoke trail and it kind of curves towards you. But by that point, you should already have flares out. So flares are pretty simple. Does anyone have any questions about them?
Yeah, I got a question.
Go ahead.
So there's semi-burst and then there's auto. Is auto what I think it is?
Does it have an auto setting, really?
Yeah, these days do.
Yeah, auto just goes forever, as far as I know.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know what to do on that one. Experiment with it sometime.
If you hit auto, it just keeps dumping until you change them up.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Let me make a note of that. Alright, any other questions?
Cool.
Alright, next piece of pilot gear is the FFAR set. You should have, I believe, 38 rockets, is that correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
FFARs are intended for infantry and light to medium vehicles. You can potentially fire them at tanks. You may not be effective, and it's probably not the best idea, but that's for times, that's for measures. FFARs are best for mass troops, linear dispersions of troops, or anything where you can just pound the shit out of a collection of enemies in one area without endangering friendlies. FFARs are also excellent for seeking into an area where you can't get good eyes on. If someone's calling contact in a wood line or something like that, you may not be able to get good effects with guns, especially if they're being stopped by the trees, whereas FFARs can get in there and mess things up. You have a lot of them. When you're firing them, you probably want to fire them in short bursts, maybe 3 to 7 rockets, depending on the target type. If you're attacking single infantry, you don't want to use a 10-round burst. If you're attacking a big collection, you can go more. Use good judgment on it. With rockets, you want to be attacking from a considerable distance. A common problem is people fly in and they'll wait for an absolutely perfect lineup and they'll get down to a low altitude and a close range, and then they'll be vulnerable to RPGs or other ground-based weapon systems. So try to fire them from far out, know how they drop, know that they disperse. When you're attacking with rockets, the pilot is doing that, the gunner is free to do, gun stuff. It's a good idea for the gun, or rather for the pilot, to tell the gunner to be engaging with the cannons as he comes in. From the gunner's perspective, he'll want to engage targets that are not directly aligned with the nose, because that's what the pilot's trying to line up on already. If he engages to the front left or front right slightly, you can do a lot more damage on a pass like that. We're going to do a demonstration run against some targets, some linear vehicle targets. Does anyone have any questions before we do?
One at ID.
Copy 1. Phil, do you see your targets? Should be 4 trucks on the road.
Yeah, I see them. Atticus line up 290.
Roger that. Orion 290, have them in sight.
Reapers 2, 3, and 4, just get in formation and hold there. Reaper 1, I want you to make an FFAR run on these trucks. I want you to brake before flying over them.
You confirm you want us to fire on them?
Correct, I want you to fire FFARs at the trucks on the road. I want you to brake left before you pass over them. If you want your gunner to fire as well, that's up to you. Reaper 3, when you're ready.
Ready. Kilroy, last 2.
Excellent 3. Four, when you're ready. All right.
It is not an AH.
No. Okay, first off, do we have any questions about anything that's been covered so far?
I've got a question.
Go ahead.
Will there ever be an instance where you use a tow against infantry?
Well, saying never would be stupid. It's improbable, but possible. You want to keep it in reserve. As long as you have cannon rounds, you'll want to use them on infantry. Now, one situation you might use a tow against infantry is if they're bunkered up in a building. A tow will take care of that pretty nicely. But okay, let's put it like this: if you have 2 tows left, and you're, you know there's still a mission to go, don't ever use those against infantry. Save those. Okay, we're going into the flight profile part of the lecture. First topic we're going to cover is speed. As we saw earlier, the Cobras can get very, very fast. The too long didn't read version is that you want to maintain at least 150 kilometers an hour most times. When you're in an attack run, you'll be at 200 or higher, just because of by virtue of the fact that you're in a dive and you're picking up speed. The same basic rules apply to Cobra flight as to any other helicopters, which is to say the higher you are, the slower you can generally go. Even if you're really high up, you usually want to avoid coming to a steady hover. Even a small amount of movement will help protect you. One of my dream situations in adversarial missions is one day I would love to find a Cobra or any other aircraft like this sitting away at standoff distance with me with a sniper rifle and snipe the pilot out. So don't let that happen to you. Any movement will prevent that. The one time where you might get a hover, as we talked about earlier, is if you're making a tow shot in a pop-up attack profile. You can pop it up behind trees. But again, like we said, you want to be having some kind of lateral or slight movement so that smoke doesn't obscure the gunner's view. Whenever you need to slow down, you need to be super vigilant. The gunner needs to be scanning around, the pilot needs to be looking around. Slowing down is incredibly dangerous. When you're able to, stay high. If the threat environment doesn't allow that, stay low and offset your lower altitude with a higher speed. There will be some situations where you can stay low and slow, like we said. Maybe you're hiding behind buildings or something, and you know the situation around you. But anytime you're doing that, anytime you're low and slow, you need to make sure you're not in that position for long. If you sit in a position where you're hovering behind a building for, let's say, 5 minutes, that's one thing. If you sit there for 15 minutes, you've given someone time to move around, maneuver on you, and come up and just shoot you in the face with a rifle. Don't let that happen to you. Anything above the treetops to about 100